Why does this matter? Why does it matter that we are being surveilled in this way, that the NSA is collecting millions of phone records, as Edward Snowden has now revealed by giving these documents to Glenn Greenwald? On Huffington Post, there's a pretty interesting article by Peter Van Buren, and he goes through a lot of the kind of counter arguments people will have about, hey, we shouldn't be worried about this type of surveillance. Let's go through them, and then we can kind of evaluate. You can tell me whether they make sense to you. Number one is that it's legal. As I said, this is legal. The Patriot Act makes this type of surveillance legal. A lot of bad stuff is legal. When talking about gay marriage, we always say, advocates of equality say, discriminating against gay people may be legal, but that doesn't make it right. So simply saying, hey, this is legal and therefore it's not important is not a valid argument. Next argument we hear a lot. Hey, I'm not doing anything wrong. Why should I care? If you're doing nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the definition of wrong can change very quickly. This is kind of the same argument that's often used. Hey, I'll talk to the police. I really am not guilty of anything. Well, do you know that? Do you know what misdemeanor you might admit to in clearing yourself from the felony that you're being asked about? Who knows? The fact that you've done nothing wrong is not really a good reason to say, read all my email, do whatever you want. The next one is, I trust the government. I trust the government not to do anything that is really going to be bad for the good guys. That's fine that you trust the government overall. That's fine that you believe the government overall exists to serve people, right? I mean, we talk about that all the time. That's kind of, we counter a lot of libertarian arguments by saying things like that. But this is data in the hands of the NSA, who trusted Edward Snowden to be loyal to them, and he wasn't. If the NSA, and this isn't the only argument, but if the NSA couldn't even properly evaluate whether Edward Snowden might eventually, from what their point of view is a betrayal, betray them, why should we trust the NSA with all of the data about who we're calling, emails, who knows what? And that's really the broader point. Even if you believe government overall is not out to make the good guys, make bad things happen to the good guys, the data is in the hands of the TSA, the IRS, the DMV. This data, once the NSA has it, is available everywhere. People in any of those areas could hold grudges, they could be incompetent, etc. And then that really gets us to the main arguments here, which are this type of surveillance is necessary to keep us safe. I am willing to trade some privacy for what is security. Now it gets more complex. The country has survived for a long time without this type of surveillance because the government didn't have the technological means to do this type of surveillance for a long time. Plus, remember, this system just missed the Boston bombers. Monitoring email, we've got a data repository. We have at least Verizon, and we have to assume probably other mobile carriers providing these phone records. And this just missed the Boston bombers, who had any number of communications via different means. So is it really effective? And based on that effectiveness, do we believe that it is necessary? That being said, what if it does prevent attacks? What if this type of surveillance does prevent attacks? It's mostly classified. Every once in a while we hear of such and such plot was foiled, and we kind of hear some dancing around about how the information came to government authorities. We don't really know how many attacks it has prevented, but let's look at some hard facts. 2001 is the year when the United States suffered an unprecedented terrorist attack, right? 9/11, about 3,000 people die from terrorism in the U.S. Let's put it in context. Back in 2001, 71,000 people did die of diabetes. 30,000 people were killed by guns in 2001. 13,000 people were killed in drunk driving accidents. So that's what it looks like at the peak of terrorism. What if we look at a longer period of time, 1999 to 2010? We still have a little over 3,000 people in the United States killed by terrorists. And in that time, and these numbers are incredible, 360,000 were killed by guns. 150,000 were killed in drunk driving accidents. So if we measure this in terms of lives lost during an interval that includes the biggest terrorist attack in American history, the threat posed by guns to American lives was 100 times greater than the threat of terrorism. During that same period, drunk driving threatened our safety 50 times more than terrorism. Is it worth it to lose this much freedom for an issue that comparatively takes a fraction of the lives that guns do. And look at what's going on with guns, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the questions we need to be asking. I am not giving answers because the answer is different for everybody. How much freedom are we willing to lose? Maybe the argument of, I'm not doing anything wrong, so I don't care. Maybe that argument works for you, even with the threat that you might inadvertently do something wrong or be revealed doing something wrong, or that the rules may change and something that used to not be wrong becomes a crime. We don't know. We need to evaluate all this, and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about it.